I was like a voracious music listener. And when I think I told you about this, when my mom took me to see Cats, that was the first live performance I'd seen. I just started singing along because I did not know that that was not what you did. And she told me to sing in my inside voice because we were in like the third row. And I did. I respected that. But all of the performers then and they go into the audience and like crawl across the audience. And I lost my mind. I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened. And also they saw this small child aggressively mouthing along with every song. So of course they were just like, yeah, this one, we're gonna play with this one. And I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like literally by the time we got to the car, I was so hyped that I passed out before we even left the parking lot.
Professional face.
For reference, like we all joined this call an hour ago, a full hour. We have been like chatting about various different for an entire hour, and you've been yakking non-stop, and then as soon as Pam hit record, we're like, and now silence. Anyway, but this episode is not about silence. It is about music, and Pam's going to lead us because Pam is the music. I think it's fair to describe you as the music person of the trio.
I would say I'm the music person in the trio, though the two of you are great music appreciators, and in fact just contributed much to our theme song.
Oh my God. Were you? Yeah!
I love you. You didn't know.
I suspect that I knew all about that and forgot. Okay. When I first met Pam, and by met, I mean met on the internet because we still have yet to be in the same physical space. In the weird times of quarantine, it's a very long story that's not particularly entertaining, but my best friend ended up dubbing the cabin that a friend of ours was sheltering at the fuck hut. And then in the nature, in the vein of like good-natured ribbing, I came up with an entire, 6 verses?
Yes.
About the fuck hut.
So
and then
good.
I was like, hey, Pam, would you be interested in like making this into a little song?
I love bad ideas that are so bad that I was like trying to explain this genre to someone, but it can't be something that someone has thought of because they think it's bad. It has to be so sincerely thought of as good, but is actually bad that it loops to some other magical quality. It's like the liminal quality of something that was meant to be good, but it's terrible, but that makes it great. Those who are listening like have heard the theme song, and all of those noises are me and Jess and synthesizers, and the fact that Jess was like, do you want to make music to this spoken word piece I've made about the fuck hut? And I was just like, obviously. Like, is that even a question?
That's the crucial bit of information that I was missing until now. That a spoken word piece about the fuck hut exists and was made into. And this is everything.
Yep. So Jess sent me a voice note, and I was just like, hell yeah, I can work with this.
And the friend with the fuck hut is now happily married, but also like the wedding occurred, like a year ago. So I now feel perfectly comfortable bringing the fuck hut back up. And I did warn him. I was like, hey, I'm gonna release fuck hut into the world. I'm gonna release fuck hut into the world. Speak now.
You know what? I like to think it's my sincere hope that somebody out there is listening to this podcast and right now thinking, you know what? I could be an artist. These people are all like successful at what they do, and this is like a Hollywood screenwriter, writers. We have like musicians here, and like, what is it that they've made? But so, Pam, all right, I'm gonna direct us a bit, just a little bit.
Heck yeah.
Because, hell yeah, oh no, I'm driving this bus now. Oh God, I shouldn't have said that. Now I have to keep going. I can't drive. Oh my God. But we want to talk about music, and you're making music, and how that, and the links with emotion. And you should probably start, for anybody who's not familiar with your music career, how making music is part of your creative life.
Well, as like it all started when my sister started taking piano lessons, and I realized that the large object in the living room, in fact, made very exciting sounds. But prior to that, I had a talent for mimicry, as well as a talent for memorization. And so even before taking piano lessons, I would sing things quite frequently instead of speak them. And I loved listening to music, and I loved listening to a wide range of music. Like, my very favorites as a small child were Mozart, the Cat soundtrack, Janet Jackson, Simon and Garfunkel, like literally, like, not things that you're just like, yes, this 5-year-old is going to be really into this. But I was like a voracious music listener. And when I think I told you about this, when my mom took me to see Cats, that was the first live performance I'd seen. I just started singing along because I did not know that that was not what you did. And she told me to sing in my inside voice because we were in like the third row. And I did. I respected that. But all of the performers then, like, and they go into the audience and like crawl across the audience. And I lost my mind. I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened. And also they saw this small child aggressively mouthing along with every song. So of course they were just like, yeah, this one, we're gonna play with this one. And I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, literally by the time we got to the car, I was so hyped that I passed out before we even left the parking lot. Like, my mom turned around to ask me how I liked it, and I was like out cold. Apparently I was like so hyped that I was like, oh my god. Yes. So from a very young age, I was just like, oh yes, this is exactly what I want to do. But I didn't know that music was necessarily like a career that one could have. It was just something that I was quite good at and loved. And so I was like, oh, okay. And then like when I learned more about like ways that people had careers in music, I was like, oh, this makes sense. But it was funny because my parents did encourage me to play music until the point that I was like, oh, I'd like this to be a career. And then they were like, oh, that's actually very scary because it's unpredictable. So it was very, be very good at it, but not like that. And I was like, well, that's a confusing message.
Yeah. As opposed to all of the other careers that are so predictable and stable. That are so
predictable, so normal right now. Yeah, seriously. I was just like, what? Everything is made of chaos. So why not just pursue the chaos you like? And so yeah, like I did, even throughout the time that like I was working as a tutor and I was going to grad school and I became a therapist, like I still was like recording my own music, playing in friends' bands. Like I've always musicked. And for a long time I did make it under my own name. But then especially once I did become a therapist, that is when I started using other band names to differentiate, because it's weird when you show up on your client's Spotify. That's a crossover event that's a little awkward. I'm always like, well, that's very flattering. Also, yikes. But yeah, so basically, like shortly before the pandemic, I had scored a film and I was scoring like a friend's video art and was like, people are paying attention to my music. It is, I feel like I had put in basically like the requisite 10 years to be an overnight success. And it was like, my time is finally coming. And then it was just like, boom, you are actually an essential worker from home, go. And I was just like, wow, I was not expecting that plot twist. So basically for several years, it was just like, but I did keep making music. It's not that I ever stopped making music. It's just I wasn't actively releasing music, because that is a very different act than the making of music. That requires all of the mechanics of telling people about your music and making all of the videos and photos with which to present your music, and optimally like playing shows online or in person to share your music with people. And it's very hard to do that at the same time as running a therapy group practice while the world is on fire.
Well, so every single person who's ever had therapy with you or heard of you has called and been like, please give me some therapy. I need it. Everyone needs it. And you were like,
yes.
we've talked about this before, but I was in your pod at the time, and it was like you were on the front line of a private war.
Yeah, that is why like I ended up, and I love my team so much. It's actually my first associate that I hired during that time is now on maternity leave. I feel very like Fiddler on the Roof, like phases of life. Like, oh, but yeah, like that's why it expanded so much during that time is literally like you said that, I mean, I was in therapy sessions like 20, 30 hours a week. And it was a lot. And so I was a little zonked. So needless to say, though I kept making music, that was not the time to be like, hey guys, well, I played the piano. You want to listen to it? I wrote a song. I'm very tired. Do you want to listen to my song I wrote? I'm going to go take a nap. So now I am back to releasing music, and that's been really fun. Like I've got to say, like I've missed doing all of that. I missed all the stuff that goes along with like the storytelling around it and like the myth making. Like I like all of that around the music.
When you say myth making, what do you mean?
Like I think of like my artist name is Pearl Holly, and that is my Hebrew name and my middle name, so it is technically my name. But I think of like, you know, when I'm in Pearl Holly mode, it's like all the things about me that inform my music. How do I show them to people? How do I help them come into the world of my music? And what is the world of my music? And for me, that's like multisensory, because when I'm making music, it's multisensory. It's what does that music smell like? What color is that music? All of that. And that's also how I end up like producing and mixing music is it has to be like within the song, it has to all be kind of in the same color palette, but it's not like I don't have the kind of synesthesia where like a note is a certain color. It's more like things either sound the same kind of color and I know what color that is or they don't. And so that's kind of how I make things. And like, for instance, a lot of the Pearl Holly songs have a lot of like, they sound to me like very like red and pewter and there's like white and cream in there. Like there's different textures in there. That same thing would they then match actual like tactile textures. Like one of the new songs I wrote is very velvety, whereas Crossroads is not. Like the one I just released is more like that one's more satiny and it feels more like smooth but clangy. So that's why the visuals for that are like satins with like heavy jewelry, or like the cape that I found a cape that I had bought years ago that had sequins on it. This is what you find in my closet. Where I was just like, I used this for a photo shoot like forever ago. I was just like, I love this, but it was the right texture. It was like smooth black with then all the pewter and gold on it. So it matched what the sounds were for me. So all of my art is dictated by the music, but it's like, how do I allow other people into that world? How do I communicate that with people? And then in a way, then the songs become communication with people. Because then I'm like, oh, like once all of this leaves me, it's up to someone else's interpretation. It's up to someone else's emotional landscape. I don't know where it's going to land. That's the really fun thing about releasing music, because you're just like, someone could listen to this literally anywhere at any time. So it's been cool. It's been really cool. I've gotten back a few videos of people doing like ritual magic to my songs, which has been great. Yeah. So that's been really cool. And someone messaged me that they listened to one of my songs on loop for 4 hours to prevent them from having a panic attack on a plane while it was taxiing. Because and I was just like, I mean, not like I'm not excited that they were going to have a panic attack, but what I was excited about is that something I created like could help them feel better. And I was just like, oh my God, like that's amazing. And so it makes it like worth it. And it affirms my decision to put music out when I have the energy to, you know, make sure that I do my best to get it to the right people. But like I would make music anyway. Like that's even when I'm not sharing it.
So the theme of this episode is music and its connection to emotion. And I love how Pam essentially is interviewing herself. And I mean that completely literally. Right? It's my favorite thing. When you're like, hey, I want to ask you about this broad subject. And the person is just like, yes, here is absolutely everything.
I'm like, broad subject, you say? Would you like extensive answer?
So, actually, I've got a very weird question about music. And you were, I didn't think I was going to ask you this just as a friend ask. It's very weird, but all right. So I'm going to a lark. I'm going to pull up with this very in-depth LARP. It's one of these experimental ones I do. And I am going to be portraying a muse who is Euterpe, the muse of music. And I've been matched with somebody who is the person I'm inspiring. And that person is, we actually had a big, chat the other day just to make sure we're on the same wavelength. And this person, I think it was chosen because this person is like a piano bar person. And I'm like, this is going to be so much fun. But yeah, it's how to represent, because I'm not, music isn't my sticky special interest sensory thing, apart from lyrics. That's my dump stat. But one of the things I was thinking about is character, because you're given a rough character, and one of the things that's the art form is you sort of come up with the rest of it with the rest of the group. And one of the things I was thinking is you can't really lie with music. Music is just hooked directly, well, for me, it's hooked directly into your emotions. You bypass reason. And so I'm playing this. Yeah, I was like, music can't lie. I'm going to play this character as, a intense kind of manic pixie thing, but with absolutely no ability to lie whatsoever. Very innocent. But that was, and I'm like, the question is basically, if the inspiration of music was a person, what would that person be like? And this is not just an academic question. I really do need to know.
Yeah, you're like, I'm taking notes. I'm constructing a costume.
Yeah. I absolutely am.
My first query would be to the person that you're playing with, because their answer might be very different than mine. What does inspiration feel like to them? Or for their character, because it might feel different than how inspiration feels to me. But for me, if I were personifying the muse of music, it would be a very sensory and a very emotional on the surface, but not necessarily even in a melodramatic kind of way. But just I am often very inspired by the feeling of an emotion or the feeling of a sensory activity. And that can be anything, like a song that I recently wrote. I was looking at art on a friend of mine's tarot deck. Gabby Herstick and Sneaks for Hair made a really beautiful tarot deck. Yeah, and I was looking at the Queen of Cups card, and it ended up inspiring a song, but the song was also the same colors as the card. And so even though I think one of the images that I wrote about in the lyrics was drawn from the images, but otherwise it was what those colors and what those images made me feel like. Ooh. And so that's the thing is for me, that's a lot of the inspiration, or if I've had a strong emotional experience, because I think about, and obviously I'm not a neuroscientist, and that's why I was for more information, read just about anything by Oliver Sacks. But he writes a lot about music in the brain, but it bypasses the language center. And that's why music is universal in that way, is that language, facial expression, all sorts of things can have both cultural implications as well as it takes different cognitive translation. Whereas music is sensory information that does not require cognitive translation. It is, and it doesn't necessarily have the associations that even colors have in different societies or symbols or things like that. It bypasses any kind of symbolic reasoning. So that's why music is really fascinating, and why, in a way, someone beating a drum in anywhere is going to make people feel something. Because even though it could be beating a war drum, it could be beating a celebration drum, it could be whatever it is, the drum itself could have a different implication. But just hearing the beat of a drum, it bypasses it bypasses any symbolism. And so that's why it just goes straight to emotion.
Is it 2001: A Space Odyssey that has the scene early on with the early hominids figuring out how to make a drum noise?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we know, is that completely made up? Do we know how music developed? Was the first thing drums is what I'm trying to ask.
I would guess that it would be, but I would want to actually research that because, yeah, like it is easiest to do percussion. Like percussion, you don't have to have much by way of tools, and you can also percuss with your hands. So it's like, okay, like that would be kind of I would guess, but I actually don't know. I was like, I want to do a deep dive.
I've been trying to look this up the last couple of days, and because I can play strings and violin and guitar not very well, but I was trying to figure out whether percussion was universal, basically, where there was some, and then I'm like, maybe you should study. Well, the answer to all this was maybe you should study to become a music anthropologist for 8 years. Then you would know the answer. I was like,
That's not a good answer.
Next course of research. I was like, I do know at least one musicologist, but I don't think this is her area of study, unfortunately, but I can ask her. But I was just like, I could totally ask her though. I think she wrote her PhD on Finnish metal. Like
Finnish metal?
Yeah.
That's so good. That's so good.
It just struck me that I was like, wait, like all of us do have a pulse when we are still stuck in these bodies that sometimes are a bit dodgy. But bodies all have a pulse. They all have a heartbeat. And I was just like, oh, maybe that's why like it's such a universal thing, because that is one of the first sounds that we hear.
Pink noise kind of thing.
Yeah, and the heartbeat.
Before I became too old for nightclubs, I very much enjoyed being super close to the subwoofer so I could feel it.
Yep. It's the strangest feeling. I like it for a short amount of time, and then afterwards it's almost like sometimes my sternum feels like over subwoofed. Like, it's such like a visceral feeling.
It's disgusting.
Yes, I do love that feeling, and that's actually, it's a great feeling when you're playing a physical, like actual piano, and that's why I tend to write at my piano, even though I have a plethora of keyboards and synthesizers. If I'm writing at the piano, it turns out different because you can feel, it's almost like when you're holding a guitar, you can feel the resonance. Same thing from the piano, you feel the sound waves. Very different than hearing the sound waves. Yeah. Yeah.
This has been so much more interesting already than the chapters that we did on music in my arts and humanities module.
It was fascinating. Because I didn't understand why. Like, I knew it felt different to write at my piano, but I didn't know why. And it was in the mixing of my first album that with mixing, what you're doing is you're combining all the sounds that you've recorded and making sure that they work together well, while sometimes editing out certain frequencies that might make sounds kind of rub against each other or make it sound like they're coming from different places. It's basically like, mixing.
Rub against each other.
Oh, yeah. If you have different frequencies, they can actually cut each other out. And you can get like ducking in sounds, or you can get certain frequencies that are dissonant together. Yeah. And so there was this one frequency that we couldn't figure out why it was getting all weird with the piano. And it's because my vocals, I was actually harmonizing with subaural. So like frequencies you can't hear, they're so low you can't hear them. I was harmonizing with those frequencies because when I write my vocal melodies, I'm at the piano. So I was basically right, but I didn't know this until we were going in and analyzing it, that I was like, oh, I am actually like, I am harmonizing with what I'm feeling from my piano because I can't hear it, but I can feel it.
What?
I was like, oh,
that is wild.
Right? When I discovered that, I was like, that's banana pants. Like, I was like, oh my God. Like, I always joke that like I'm very connected to my instrument, but I was like, oh, I'm actually like, I am like, it changes the way I'm writing and that I'm singing. Like when I do this at my specific piano, because that was the piano that it was recorded on. I was like, I was so fascinated by like the science behind it. This is why when people are just like, oh, do you believe in magic? I was like, oh, completely. Because like, I consider magic to be like things that we can observe, but we might not know the explanation of. Because I'm just like, no, like you might not know why, but you know it's there. But then sometimes you do find the reason why and you're like,
I have always maintained that airplanes are magic. And lots of people over the years have tried to be like, no, no, it's science, it's science. And like, I'm not quite buying that. And then a couple of years ago, someone sent me an article on Scientific American that explained that we understand completely one half of how airplanes work and the other half of how airplanes work, but the way that the two halves work together, we don't know. It's just demonstrably safer than any other mode of transportation. And I was like, I knew it.
You're like, I told you.
Because of magic.
That's like even the most popular and enduring medication for bipolar disorder is lithium. And the reason why is that it acts on the potassium channels in your brain, which affects how the electrical currents work. Do we know why that affects your mood? No.
Mm-hmm.
No idea.
Yeah.
We're just like, messes with some of the electrons in this one kind of element in your brain. Ta-da! That's it. And you're just like, wait, that's the whole, that's all we know about that. That's all. Okay. I'm like, no, I'd put that in the category of magic. We know enough that we're like, well, we know what this does, but why does it then help with mood stabilize? No clue.
Yeah. Yeah, it just helps.
I'm just like, what?
You know, I was just thinking, Pam, I have what you described about, expressing feeling through music, like emotional feeling rather than the feeling of the sub-voice, or maybe they're connected, I don't know. But, like, I can't really conceive of doing that. Like, I believe it's true because I've heard people describe it, but I can't imagine what it must be like to, like, express a feeling in song or in music or even in just singing a sad song that you've heard before.
I mean, I feel like the playing of music and the listening of music are different experiences for me in that way. But like playing music, and I feel like in some ways I actually am more expressive sometimes when I'm playing just the piano. Because sometimes when I'm singing, I would say that singing is sometimes technically a little harder for me to express an emotion. Whereas piano, and sometimes I even just play the piano on my own. Like, I don't care if someone's listening or not. It's to express the emotion. It's like, I'm guessing it must be kind of corollary to like dancing.
I'm not like, I'm just fascinated by how different people's experience of emotional expression and art are. Like, the way I connect with music is remembering all the words, which is my dump stat. And you know this, Pam, but it's, if I can hear a song twice and I've got the words and they stay in my head forever. And it's kind of creepy. There's
a huge backlog of lyrics in my head that is like, I don't know how much more space would be in here if I cleared out the lyrics is what I'm saying. Like, go on.
But I was looking, I did some ancestry stuff a couple of years ago when I was bored on a very, very long train journey. And I found out that loads of my father's family, going way back, they were all cantors, which really makes sense. Like, there were a bunch of people in my family background whose entire job was just remember all the words. Like, this would have been much more useful to somebody else. But as it is, but yeah, it's like, I can feel an emotion, I can take on the emotion of a song or a piece of music. Like, I know you can use this to change how you feel. If you are sad, listen to ABBA. It's a hack. It's
like hacks.
It's true. Yeah. It's true.
It's hard to be sad while listening to ABBA. That is very valid.
I'm tempted to sing, but I'm not going to do that to myself or you or the listeners today.
But yeah, the idea of it going the other way, of like feeling something and making a music about it, is wild and exciting to me. Like, that's crazy.
Well, it's a very immediate medium. That is one thing I really like about music, is that like you can pretty quickly make a sound. I then refine some of the sounds that I make, but it's very easy to just make sounds happen. Whereas when you're drawing something or when you're writing something, it can sometimes take a little longer to get the thing out, the picture out. Whereas with music, it's very immediate sometimes to just be like, and it's right there.
There was this thing. So I've been reading this book called This Is Your Brain on Music in preparation for this role. Yeah, and it talks a lot about
I
all
love that book. Yeah.
So this is a kind of a question to you, but it's like what fascinated me about, like, as a non sort of musical brain, like reading about this stuff that you'd never even thought of. But one of the things that is apparently really important is that notes relate immediately to what has come before, and they sort of, there's this wanting, I think they describe it, for what's going to come afterwards. Like,
yes.
The phrase needs to resolve. Can you explain a bit more about that? I'm being selfish. This is the bit I want to hear about. Please tell me, Pam.
Yes. So this delves into music theory, which is very interesting that I didn't learn music theory until later in my teens. And then when I learned more about music theory, I was like, gosh, there's words for all these things that I knew, but there's words for them. That's so cool. Because at first I was like, I kind of resisted it for a long time because I was like, well, if I know these things, is it going to make writing more boring? Is it going to take like them, kind of that mystical element out of music? And in fact, for me, at least, it did not. It just gave me a broader vocabulary, which I was like, oh, this is great. And with music, because some of it is about the relationship between tones and the relationship between the timing of things, like it actually is all about, now that I think about it, the relationship between what comes before and what comes after. Because otherwise you're just playing a single note or making a single tone. And that's kind of just like, okay, cool, you made a tone, but what is that? But like when something resolves, what that means is that the end of a musical phrase, much like the end of a sentence, ends somewhere where it's in the expected range. So for instance, in English, we need sentences to have a subject, at the very least, a subject and a verb. You can't just repeat subjects at people. Otherwise, you're listing names at people or pronouns. You're just kind of like, okay, well, those are sure some nouns. And you also can't just verb at people. Like, you need to subject and verb together. And it's much the same with musical phrasings, where what makes music really interesting is when it's the right blend of meeting people's expectations of what might come next and subverting those expectations just enough so that it's interesting, but not so far that someone feels uncomfortable. Because then you get what sometimes people call like dissonant music or experimental music, or that was like the whole like 12-tone scale music, where you end up with what feels to people not necessarily discordant, but something that doesn't feel comforting enough. Like you need to strike that balance between expected and unexpected.
That's so fascinating, because that's exactly what it's like when you're trying to do narrative patterning. Exactly the same.
Yes. And like you want it to be in that sweet spot. And so there's there was a score recently, and I'll look it up for the actual show notes, that use this one technique of layering sound so that it sounds like it's constantly ascending. But if something is constantly ascending, it creates an incredible amount of tension. What was one of the big war movies that came out? Like, I feel like in the last year, there was a spate of World War II movies that were very artsy.
Oh, like are you thinking of 1917?
No. What was the Christopher Nolan one that just came out?
Oh, Tenant. Is it?
Maybe.
Is that war? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm really bad at seeing movies, but there was a movie that came out recently that did have this. And basically, you have an ascending scale like da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, but when you layer on top of it like da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, and you layer those all on top of each other, you get this incredible sense of rising. But like he did it throughout most of the movie, and the reason why is that through the movie, he wanted to create a sense of increasing unresolved tension. And the way to do that is to constantly leave it upward, because most of the time what you hear at the end of a melody of that is like, da-na-na-na-na. That's the end of the phrase. That's your period. You've ended the sentence. But if you da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na-na, like it keeps going up, 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 and like, and you're just like, what, are we going to come back down anytime? Like, can we, yeah. And so, yeah. So like, it's a really interesting, like musical technique. And also someone just went, dun, dun, dun. You'd be like, well, okay, was that a melody?
Everybody knows what that means.
Yeah. And so it's like, even if you near miss that one, as you heard me do, no one knows what you're talking about.
Yes.
No one knows what you're conveying. So it's really fascinating that it's like, I was like, I'm going to do a slight bit lower and see if Laurie or Jess respond with the correct musical phrase. And you did.
Oh, wow, I did it.
So like,
yes.
No,
that's wrong. It's I never thought I'd make that noise in a podcast.
Speaking of very tense music, has anybody seen The Good Doctor?
No.
So there are problematic uses of stereotypes, but it's better than previous depictions. Medical TV show by the guy who did House about an autistic surgeon. But the opening credits have the most annoying music. It is grating. And I'm like, how can you use this music for a television show about an autistic person? What is wrong with you? Like, what are you doing?
Autistic people are characters. We're not people who might watch a show.
Oh my God.
Then as it progresses through the series, they start like swapping the opening credits music. So it's like the same tune, but not grating. And it lulls you into a sense of complacency. And then boom, back to the really annoying one.
Somebody clearly thought they were doing something very, very clever there.
Oh my God. That when you said that, it reminded me that like I've gotten good, though not, obviously I'm not going to diagnose people based on their music, but I have noticed that I have a preponderance towards enjoying music made by fellow autists because of the sensory perception factor of autism. That is the part of the spectrum that for me lights up like a Christmas tree, and the rest are kind of like, well, we could take it or leave it. But my sensory experience is like,
Pet Shop Boys.
Also, David Byrne, like anything that David Byrne produces, Grimes. And that's the thing is like, those are artists who have come out about this, but like there are other artists that I very much enjoy that sometimes either other people find it unusual or slightly grating, or that they're like, oh, I wouldn't have put things together that way. Or sometimes I hear that it's like almost like a maximalist kind of sound palette. That for me, I'm like, oh, there's so many yummy things for my ears here. I love this. So much texture. So much. Oh, very good. Whereas like other people are like, this is a little unusual. And it's not because of its melodic or lyrical content. It's more of the tones that people would put together or the textures of sounds that people would put together, that I've trended towards enjoying music made by fellow autists, which I found really interesting.
I had a boyfriend many years ago who was like, we're going to expand your musical tastes.
Oh, God.
Because he worked in music and he was like, we're going to do this. And I'm like, all right, I have this iPod. It's got 20 songs on it. Go ahead.
Go for it.
And one of the things that he gave me was a Matmos album. And I went home and I listened to the album, and then I started it over. And then I started it over again. And the entire day I was working on something, and the entire day I just had the whole Matmos album going over and over and over. And then he was like, what'd you think? And I'm like, oh, I liked it. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, which song? And I'm like, no, I liked the whole album.
The whole thing.
I listened to it like 10 times. And he's like, "Are you okay? Like, is your are you normal? We know you're not normal, but like, how not normal? No one can listen to Matmos all day long." And I'm like,
I'm
well,
downloading this right now. I've
I
never
was
heard
gonna
of these
say
people.
Matmos is one of my favorite things to loop when I'm working on another task, or even
Ooh.
sometimes when I'm on a hike. Like, it's just, yeah, it's exactly that. It's so much, I don't know how to describe it other than shiny little cromulent bubbles for my ears. I'm just like, oh, this is so great.
there are so many things going on simultaneously, but they all work together. Like
Yes.
there's like a logic to it, a coherency, but it is so multi-layered that I'm like, oh, I can actually just kind of pay attention
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah. I find it like almost soothing in that way. Or like, I don't know if Bjork has ever mentioned any kind of neurodivergence, so I do not want to ascribe a neurodivergence to Bjork. She's one of my very favorite artists. I would say, like, production wise, she's my favorite and was very formative for me. But in
I feel
listening
like
to
Bjork
her
is a
work,
neurotype of her own.
I was gonna say Bjork is a whole.
She's
I
a
love her
trope
so
namer.
much.
Me too.
Like, and the way I remember watching an interview with her in which she said that it took her 3 years to do the production work on Vespertine because she was literally hand creating a lot of the beats and like almost like the background layers that are in that album. And that is actually my favorite album of hers. And I didn't understand until I started getting, frankly, more into production work myself. One, why it took her that long to do that, because it's amazing, but also why I love that album so much and can listen to it over and over and over and over again. Because even within the beat, there is no sound that is necessarily exactly repeating ever. It's like it's like little it's almost like if someone like hand beated like a tapestry instead of had it done by machine. It's like there's going to be those slight changes. And like just that attention to that detail and that the way that the songs feel, like I love that album so much.
I'm going to find it and listen to it now that I know why it's good.
I was going to say, like, I hope that this is helping your LARP character. That I was
really
like,
is.
This is everything I wanted out of this episode.
100%.
I'm having a great time. This is the highlight of my fucking week.
So good.
It makes me like feel such joy that I'm like, you want me to ramble about thing I love?
Yeah.
Thing I love
Please
bring
give
joy?
information. Give to us the good information now. Because what you've just described is basically, now I have a few more words for when, I'll hear a song or a kind of song and somebody will have made a playlist and I'll be like, I want more of the thing that does the thing, the sparkly brain, the smoosh. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? the thing that trickles, that one. They're like, what?
Yeah. That's even when I'm producing, I will keep working at something until I start stimming. Like I know that when I start doing little finger twinkles, that's when production wise I'm on the right track. Like I'm just like, okay, yes, correct.
I never, until I spent time like quasi living with you, Pam, I really didn't appreciate like the artistry of production, everything that goes into it. It's like how it's an art form all of its own. It's wild.
Oh yeah, because you were in a house with the artistry of writing, which is a very different.
Mm-hmm. Very much. It's and living with Natty Vogel, who is our treasure, who is a singer-songwriter, and listening to him compose his. It's a fantastic album, honestly, and I
my God,
hope
yes.
really hope he gets to release it. It's a passion project, and it's very odd because I feel like this album, I probably heard it more than anyone else, and it's still not really in the world. So it's like being a fan of something that's not out yet.
Yeah.
But listening to somebody compose something is very much like it is the same phrase again and again and again till it's right. And I'm used to that with writing. It's like doing that, but whoever is in earshot is inside your brain.
Yeah.
That's mad.
That's why, like, I mean, I must admit, it's very difficult for me. Now I can write piano. I can write instrumental stuff around most other people now, and I feel especially comfortable with my partner, quite frankly. But like, it's still actually very difficult for me to write vocal lines when my partner is even home. Because yeah, like what Nati did around you, what a gift, and also what a show of trust and vulnerability that he did that.
100%. And like, I have very distinct favorite songs on that album. I can't wait for everyone to hear it.
And it was so interesting, like even witnessing Nati do that did give me courage in a way that I'm like, oh, it's possible to write around other people that way. Where I was just like always very terrified of that. Because yeah, like you said, it's someone hearing everything you'd put down on paper and revise, but it's out loud.
Like, for me, people seeing my rough drafts is like people rooting through my underwear drawer. It's just like, it's not unless I've specifically left it in an arty way for you to find, which is not a thing I've actually ever done, so I don't know why I said that.
I just imagined you leaving like a Hansel and Gretel like trail of underwear.
Just like, follow the thongs into the woods.
Jess, what inspired you that you were like, ooh, I want to know the emotions of music? I was like, were you having a particularly emotive musical experience lately?
I really have no idea. I think because I'm not a great singer, but I do, when I am at home alone, often sing along with things, and it's like a, emotionally cathartic kind of experience. And then because my throat was fucked up for so many days, and there were like 2 whole days where I basically didn't talk. Even with the cats, I might have been like, but I didn't really like talk. And I talk to the cats all the time. I talk to my friends.
You make up little songs for your cats. I've heard you do it, even on the Zoom. And you should release an album. Like, people will buy it.
Kind of in the vein of like the Terry Pratchett Discworld folk song album. Yes! Me and my cats a cappella. Oh god. So I imagine there was some like vague desire to get a different angle on the catharsis of music.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And like I do love the idea of the catharsis of music just in general, that there is something that we at least have that can bypass. Because I feel like in a way visual art also can do that as well, particularly non-representational visual art, even though that does then, and I guess with music too, there are certain sounds or instruments that can have cultural associations. But I do feel like
I'm against it.
Yeah.
I'm against all of it. I think it's too much, and like, as a hyperlexic person, I just often like I will hear a song and I'm like, this is cheating. This is cheating. Like, nothing gets to just hijack my brain like this. I didn't ask for this. And now I'm upset. What's that about?
And there are some lyrics where if you said them outside of the context of a song would sound maudlin and ridiculous. That if you just spoke the lyrics, you would sound extremely...
William Shatner.
Yes. Like I even, and I, by the way, I too am quite hyperlexic, and I find it fascinating that my partner, when he first hears songs, and even quite a while after, genuinely it actually takes him effort to listen to lyrics. He does not know the lyrics of most songs.
That's
which
crazy.
Is fascinating to me. Yeah, he's listening to the phonemes. He's listening to how the voice comes across for sure. And he's like, oh, I genuinely don't recognize usually like lyrics as lyrics until it's really pointed out, or if I'm reading them. He's like, I hear it for a long time as sounds. And I was like, that is fascinating.
I have to see the lyrics written out to know what they are like 90% of the time.
Wow. Do you have any particularly juicy misheard lyrics?
Sorry, my brain just like
your brain did that thing where it's like, I've never heard a song.
What is a lyric?
No, it was literally like lyrics. We've sung lyrics. How do we not remember lyrics?
It was a neurodivergent reaction when someone's like, wow, you like books? What have you read lately? And you're like, I like books.
Words in between paper. Look, I do know somebody who was a teacher who insisted that the lyrics to what was it that Black Eyed Peas song are "Shake It Like a Qualified Teacher."
I just imagine Outkast singing that.
That was Outcast,
so
sorry.
Are people often shaking teachers?
I don't know. Only qualified ones.
Do teachers often shake like what? I'm so confused.
Oh my god.
Shaking with stress.
Oh my god. Well, when I was quite younger, I would kind of fill in the nearest words on lyrics because I'm quite good at memorizing them, but I think the infamous one was so as stated, I loved Cats, and so I started listening to other musicals, and I was listening to Les Miserables, which I quite enjoyed. But in Javert's song Stars, he says, "And if I fall as Lucifer fell." And the thing is, being raised Jewish in the Valley, I did not know who Lucifer was nor why he would be falling. And now, obviously, I understand more of the references about Lucifer and the Morning Star and like how that ties into all sorts of other things. But no, 6-year-old Pam did not have this knowledge. And yeah, so I'm singing along to, all sorts of things. And note the fact, we were not listening to Les Miserables at the time. I'm in the car with my mom. And I just pipe up from the backseat, no context, and say, "What is a furful?"
Lucy Furful.
So it took me a while to explain to her because I was like, how Javert sings it. And she's like, no, I have no idea. She ended up having to like pull over on Ventura Boulevard because she was like cry laughing. She was like, once she figured out what I meant, she lost it, which is very fair. And she was like, no, it's when Lucifer fell. And I was like, that doesn't help. Like, you have clarified nothing. But that I still, rightfully so, get teased about that one in my family. And also I thought that the Pearl Jam song "Can't Find a Better Man" was "Can't Find a Bedouin." I was like, why is she looking so hard for a Bedouin? I don't know how this makes the situation better.
There aren't many in the city.
That's what I'm thinking. I was like, well, is she wandering the desert? Is that why she's so sad? Is that why things are going so poorly lyrically in the rest of the song? Because she can't find a Bedouin?
I have a friend whose kid, oh my god, the kid must be 18 now, but I babysat the child when the child was about 4, and this little person really thought that the lyrics to Single Ladies by Beyonce were if you didn't like it, then you should have put some cream on it.
That is a way to solve a lot of problems. They're not wrong.
Didn't like it, you should have put some cream on it.
Put some cream on it. Oh my god.
If I didn't feel Al Yankovic is kind of like excessively cartoonish, I would be very excited for his eventual cover. You should have put some cream on it.
If you didn't like it, and this is a little English kid as well, it's like, if you didn't like it, you should have put some cream on it. This is an amazing kid. Like, I remember she was also like she had a baby doll, and like it just didn't seem to track with the rest of this child's personality, but she was obsessed with this baby doll. She was like swinging it around, and then I came in and I heard her say, what was it? in 9 hours and something minutes, you'll be mine. And I'm like, oh, you're being Jareth. You're being Jareth from Labyrinth. You're not doing like some kind of mummy playtime thing. You're being a goblin king who's stolen a child. That makes sense.
That makes me so happy.
Kids are all
Another
right.
great musical.
How do we officially end this?
I
It has
have
been
no
wonderful.
idea.
I could be like, it has been really, really fascinating hearing one of my favourite people explain her special interest, but also, like, I really enjoy doing this podcast with the two of you.
I learned more in an hour than I learned in 3 whole weeks of college.
I'm a speed run of college.
Yes!
No, I basically almost failed the music sections because there was like a missing component, and you have installed a significant portion of the missing component. But I'm not going to go back and redo the module.
No.
That would be ridiculous.
Yes. But I'm always happy to speedrun info dump on music.
I actually added musicals to the spreadsheet so we can circle back.
That's going to be the treat episode. I don't think we're ready yet.
No. Yeah, I know. That'll be the next time someone's having a really awful week. It'll be like,
okay, we're going to do musicals.
Episode.
We're going to do
Not
musicals.
Yet. In one more day.
One day more. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Neuroprovocateurs. Please join us on Substack, where you can find exclusive clips, resources, and community of the neurospicy variety. We are an independent podcast, so know that your support on Substack and beyond means the world to us, quite literally. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to leave us 5 stars and glowing reviews and follow our podcast on your preferred podcast platform so that you can be sure to get each episode the moment it drops, and know that your reviews help us get in front of other people who might also want to listen to this podcast. We are on social media in all of the usual places as Neuroprovocateurs. Thank you again, and excited to see you for our next episode.